What you're listening to here is the result of quite a serious problem-solving exercise. Now, you bought your new electric guitar home and it's got the amp with it and everything's lovely and you sound like a rock god when you switch the overdrive switch in. But then after a couple of months the amplifier packs up because it's very, very cheaply made and it's just something that just goes with the guitar. And then you think, well, and then you look around for another amp and all you find is another one that's secondhand on eBay or whatever that does the same thing a couple of months later. Now, the engineer who designed this, Mike Blunt, this is the Blunt Instrument VS-20C guitar amp. The man that designed this amplifier was called in to a school to repair lots of amplifiers. And he was so utterly incensed with the build quality that he just thought, I can do better than this. I can make something that will work in this setting and it'll keep working and working and working and working. I had this one out on a gig last night. It's only 20-watt transistor, but there's quite a lot to it. Now, it's got a eminent 75-watt speaker in it, so you know, the speaker is much, much higher spec than you would get in your standard practice amp. But the thing only weighs a few kilos, you know, you can just lift it up and walk down the road with it. It's fine. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit about this. There are 5 controls here, turbo, and that's basically like a distortion control, and it's all transistor, there's no valves in it at all. The reverb that you heard just now is a digital reverb. It's just like an off-the-shelf reverb that you can build into your amplifier. So it saves on build costs, it also saves on the reverb spring, which they can go wrong, they can give a lot of trouble, and you don't want that when you want something to work in a school or an institution where you just expect the thing will power up and you can just play. So, also on the amplifier next to the input, there is a little 3.5mm jack socket that you can plug your iPod in or your iPad or backing tracks so that you can play along. So, I've just got my Telecaster here. Just to start off, I've got all the controls in the middle. Now, the volume control, the second control in, halfway, it's very loud. The efficiency of the eminent speaker is such that it's actually very, very loud indeed. There is a cheaper option to this where a same size speaker, and this is a 10-inch speaker in here, a same size speaker but an inferior model, if you will. Well, it's a cheaper one. I mean, it still works the same and it's still a good quality speaker, but it's less efficient, which means it's going to be quieter. So, the volume control on half pretty much represents the top end of what's clean before you start distorting it. Where you get the sort of natural breakup of the speaker. We've also got contour and tone controls. Now these are very wide ranging. This is the same circuit that appears in the Blunt Instrument valve amps, the VS315 and the VS30, which I've demoed both of those on my channel. Very wide ranging, which means actually it's yet another problem solver because cheap electric guitars are very often deficient in any bass or low mid, partly because of the woods that are used and the pickups aren't very nice, so you can get quite a bassier sound with very little adjustment. I mean, the top end has been brought down there, which would arguably balance out a cheap guitar. So, the contour is like a mid, very sort of wideband mid sweep. Just going to turn the volume down slightly so it's still clean. I mean, I don't know how much wider sort of tone control you want, really, because that's super, super wide. Now, the reverb in here, as I said, is a digital reverb. Now, the purists would say, oh, I want a spring mover. It's reliability, isn't it? And there we go. Now the turbo control. This is where you can get your distortion. Now there's a little foot switch that comes with it on the floor here with two switches, one for the reverb, one for the turbo control. I mean, as distortion, I like that. I mean, it's not dissimilar to sort of a distortion stomp box you'd have on the floor. And there's enough, if I turn it all the way up, I mean, there's enough there to satisfy the most vitriolic teenager that hates their parents. Yeah. Now, just trying this out with a couple of other guitars. You've just heard it on the Telecaster so far. Let's firmly re-establish the protocol of unplugging the amplifier before the guitar. So if I just give you a demo with the Stratocaster now, of course they're both Fender guitars. You know, there's a lot of similarities between the Tele and a Strat, but when you've got these two pickups together, you get that real silky sort of in-between tone. That's great. That's absolutely brilliant. I've got the room mic here as well, so that you can hear what this amp sounds like in the room, and not just the close mic that you've got here as well. On my Strat here, I've got the outer two pickups wired together via another switch. But with this classic Strat bass pickup, everything's lovely. Now, I'm going to plug in my Yamaha MSG guitar next. Now this is very, very high output with the pickup. They're very, very hot pickups. Let's see what it does to this. If I just turn the volume down slightly, it's still clean. So there's plenty of headroom on that preamp there. I'm going to plug in some stomp boxes in a second so you can hear how it responds to those as well. So it can cope with higher level guitars as well. Some guitar amps have a little switch on saying, you know, active guitar or sensitivity or whatever. But actually, it doesn't matter. You just, you know, just plug in what you want. So. It's completely happy with anything you want to give it, really. I mean, obviously the wah-wah, because it's such a sort of wide-ranging thing, you know, you can make an amp distort just by using a wah-wah pedal through a clean channel, because it's such a huge sort of band boost. And that in conjunction with the hot pickups, you know, I'm asking a lot of it, and it's fine, it's responding. So, leaving aside the effects, the uses of this amplifier, I know it's designed essentially to solve a problem, but it's also something where, don't forget, this is 20 watts, just 20 watts. And the battery technology that we can get now in terms of sine wave inverter, so you can plug your mains input in, mean that you could take this out busking quite easily. Now, you know, that make my little battery pack runs my Roland 40 watt cube. It'll do that for about 5 hours. But this is 20 watts, so that implies 10 hours of solid playing time with this amplifier. That's pretty good. Now, for the jazzers, we've got the sort of whole polytone sound thing where you plug into your amp and you just want a real just lots of depth with that sort of sparkle at the top end as well. And it's absolutely fine with lots and lots of low mid as well. Now, this guitar amp does come with that lower spec Chinese speaker as well as the Eminence, but for my money, I'd rather spend the extra dosh and get the Eminence speaker, because when you're in a school, if you're doing I don't know, a battle of the bands, or you're playing in an assembly or something, and there's no other amplifier, or you've just got your little practice amp, that's not going to cut it. Whereas this thing will be fine with a, you know, big band. You know, you just stick it and you'll hear that guitar cutting over pretty easily. So there we go. It's the Blunt Instrument VS-20C, and it's nicknamed the Red Devil for very good reason.